Hey, Nisarg.
Wow.
Wow.
Ah! Oh my God.
Yes, exactly
Wow.
how I feel.
It must be because I'm sitting between you, Christo, and between you, Julia. Huh?
Yes.
So I'm sandwiched in this amazing energy.
Yes. Maris, hey Maris.
There is, yeah. Wow.
So yeah, here we are. The moment has arrived.
Well, you know, before the break, where of course I felt like a little helpless, you know, because I wasn't sure, do I have to now, does it come up by itself, or do I have to go through certain steps again?
Yes.
So I'm happy that I managed to be here, to be
Very
back.
good. Yes. You did very
and
good.
and and what I really liked, when I was on before, when I came in before, while you were talking, Christo, I saw so many pictures of all the people here. And I would love it if that could be possible again.
Would you
Yes.
love us to show ourselves so you can see?
I
In
would
the
love to, I would love to see all the different faces. I would love it. Yeah.
well,
Kind of
then we
like,
do it. Then we do it. Yes. Oh,
Tom,
yes. Very
that's
good.
better, you know.
Okay, let's do
You
it.
know.
Let's do it.
It's like, you know, I am aware that I have the so-called outer vision,
Good.
and it's
Good.
much easier for me to connect if
Yes. So everyone.
if I see you. Wow. Take you in. Wow. Wow. May sound a little bit strange what I'm saying now, but it feels like making love to all of you, with all of you. It's like, you know, it's like all of you are entering into me, filling me up, and it feels so good. I was really nervous about, you know, being the one to kind of like begin the whole extravaganza, I might call it, because I don't have any experience to be with so many people online, and I've only experienced being with 80 reflectors online, and that's been amazing. But I felt really insecure, and I had no idea what it would be like to be with, you know, with all the types, all the different types, so many together. So thank you. It's an honor for me to be here. Thank you, Christo and Julia. I mean, when I think back of when you started and try to imagine what an enormous amount of work, you know, went into this. So we can all meet here for 4 days in this space. Everybody in their own unique place, outside and inside. And at the same time, we are able to connect and feel the connection. Wow. I was also a bit nervous when, you know, it's called opening ceremony. And then I thought, oh my God, a ceremony. I mean, I just watched the inauguration. It was quite a hell of a ceremony. So, you know, I mean, I don't even quite know what I was supposed to do in a ceremony. But when Christo invited me to, you know, to join this journey, his idea was that it was like 2 reflectors, Dirk and myself, would be the ones to open the journey. And his idea was that we each share our own perspective, our own vision to what's going to come. Yeah. And so I listened to Christo, and then what came to me was that I said, I would prefer from my side not to talk about, you know, the vision, what's going to come. I mean, I think Dirk is so much better at that than I am. and, and also so many people are going to talk about, you know, and share their vision, their perspective, you know, on what we might be able to expect in the coming year, in the coming years until 2027. So it's all about looking ahead a little bit. And then I felt like what I would like to contribute, if it's possible, to begin with all of us meeting and being grounded and present in the here and now, because that's actually all we have always, and that can only be the starting point for every other step. Yeah, there is so much love here. Wow. That's what we are all made of, I guess. Each of us is a small piece of a puzzle of love, of a greater love. When we are connected, that's what we are. And yeah, so, and then I felt like from all my years of experience of, first of all, my own process of finding out and becoming slowly closer and closer to who I am designed to be as a reflector. I also kind of learned a lot simply working, teaching, meeting so many different people and types over time, teaching different courses. And so I discovered a few things about what the presence of a reflector, what the effect can be of the presence of a reflector within a community. Yeah. And I noticed, for example, every time when I teach a course, I begin just by sitting there. We are usually in a circle. I have only taught in aura up till now. Be sitting in a circle, and I would just sit there, and I would just wait, and I, you know, and I just feel like I'm taking everybody who is there in, you know, and wait, and wait, and wait. And then I noticed that after some time, everybody comes with their luggage and with, you know, the expectations and, you know, what they want from the course, and they pay a lot of money and they travel and blah, 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 and all of this. And then slowly, all of this stuff starts melting away. And it feels like that everybody begins to naturally, without me doing anything or saying anything, get settled a little bit in their place, in the room, in the now, in their body. And it's so lovely to be able to participate in this process, and then just wait until we are kind of like, everybody is a little bit more present. And we just look at each other and smile maybe, and recognize and almost bow down inside to each other's uniqueness and yeah, appreciating each other's presence here. And I discovered that that, to me, needs to happen, you know, to this kind of a basis, so that then when I start actually with the teaching, everything that is being said, everything that is being transmitted, it can already fall in and settle in a bit of a deeper place inside everybody than just the mind. And so that it's kind of like an energetic, you know, every teaching I noticed in that sense has become a kind of an energetic journey together, where through the transmission, the being together, we are all together in a process of transformation, and we stay connected. We stay connected, not just the mind. We stay connected. The body, the energy, the I don't even know what to call it, what else to call it, but it's in the room. It's there in the atmosphere. It's incredible, and yeah. So space is being created. Space that everybody can be present. You know, as who they are. There is, you know, it's like inner space opens, outer space opens. And I guess that is what is my joy in working, in teaching, in transmitting, to, you know, disconnectedness, to experience disconnectedness in the movement. And, you know, and watch how understanding is happening on a cellular level and not just up in the mind. And yeah, and that's in a way what I envisioned might be able to happen in my little overture before all of you who signed up are going to be fed with amazing, amazing stuff from so many amazing teachers, really. And I also noticed over the years, you know, I mean, I was asking myself, what's the difference between a projector guide and a reflector guide? Because I noticed that in a way, I'm also a kind of a guide. What's the difference? And what I discovered is that the projector actually is here to understand and guide energy, what can be done, you know, in which way energy can be used in the most efficient and satisfactory way, I dare say. So it's about what can be done with the energy. And I realized that I don't really care what you do, but that I can support people, I noticed over the years, to actually be who they are. So I'm interested and curious in meeting the being. You know, are you who you are when I meet you? And I noticed that that is in a way one of the gifts of a reflector, of any kind of reflector. I don't think that I'm not in a way different from another reflector, except maybe that I have a lot more experience than some who are new. And that is also my greatest joy when this happens. I often thought, you know, I mean, what attracted me with human design was the simplicity. You might be surprised when I say that. What attracted me was the simplicity. That it was the only system that I've come across, and I've been a seeker all my life, that offers such a simple, idiotically simple tool, how you can click in with yourself. I mean, it's so simple that it's so difficult for the mind to accept and to consider, you know, often to consider to even try it out. And, you know, because I thought, you know, it cannot be that in order to be yourself, that you need to study 10 years human design. I mean, there is so much available to study, and I'm not against studying. I love the knowledge. It's incredibly intelligent. I'm going to study it until I die, but not because the studying itself is what actually is doing the thing. It's, you know, it was the simplicity that I discovered for myself as the type that I am, to just kind of stick with the very, very simple and basic strategy for my type, just that, you know. And then, for example, I think for the first 3 years, I couldn't care less about that moon, you know. It put too much pressure on me that I have to now study the moon and where the moon is, you know, and I remember it and learn it all. My God, you know, that came later. First, it was important for me to begin to experience what it feels like when I am connected. Never mind where the moon is, you know, because you can't miss it when it's happening. You know? And your strategy takes you there, and whatever your inner authority is or your process, it's very simple, actually. And then when I began to kind of like get interested in the details of my design and other people's designs and the other types, it was more like it became an awareness tool. And that's how I also only like to suggest that everybody ever studies it in that way. Not to believe anything, but to just kind of like take it as a possibility. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not true what's written in the book, what Ra said, who knows, you know. But it can be actually, you know, everybody can test it for themselves. And, you know, it's like every channel, every gate, every line, whatever is written there, but your own experience, you know, how you experience it is different from somebody else. No? So as an awareness tool, it's amazing. And it, over the years, expanded my horizon, how to call it, my consciousness horizon enormously. But the most important thing from day one until now for me has remained the simplicity. You know, how can I experience that I'm connected right now, you know, in the deepest possible way with who I am. How can I recognize it, you know? And what happens if the next step comes out of that connection, and then again the next step, and then again the next step? That's what it's really about, and that's the gift, according to me, of human design. The great gift. So then I thought, okay, I want, yeah, if I can share a little bit of my experience in it, and maybe in our togetherness, it can happen that just being present in the now, in our bodies, you know, if that's possible, that would be a beginning of this amazing 4-day journey. I also feel what Christo and Julia created here with so much energy and love and care is truly something new. Maybe the beginning of a new way of staying connected, because I've been missing the meetings that we had on a yearly basis when Ra was still alive. And we all knew that every year we would all meet in Ibiza. Yeah, Don is here. and we would, you know, and we would come from all corners of the globe together for, I don't know, 7 days, 10 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Yeah, I missed it in a way when it stopped. And that at a time when nobody is allowed to travel because of this Corona madness, and we are all locked up, that Christo and Julia, a wonderful generator projector connection, took the risk in a way, because it was a risk to try out something different, something new. And and then there is also, there is written, okay, the opening ceremony, Nisarg and Dirk, 2 reflectors. And then underneath is written human design meditation. And then I thought, okay, what is a human design meditation? I mean, meditation is something, oh my God, 3 months lockdown, my hair, I can't even look at myself. I mean, meditation is something that I have practiced most of my adult life, having lived for 20 years, more or less continuously, in a meditation resort. So meditation was the name of the game on a daily basis. But what is meditation? What does it really mean, meditation? And again, it's something very simple. Meditation simply means to be present now, here and now, in this body, in this time, in this place. It's just that, being present, being connected, and noticing and being aware of what's happening now. And that's it. That's actually it. So in that sense, I guess, just us hanging out together, like I said in my little blurb or blob, just a little bit of space and a little bit of time is all that is needed, so we can connect in a certain frequency that is being created, in a certain atmosphere that supports connection to oneself, and from that place to each other. This was my vision for today, for the beginning. I don't know what's going to happen in the next year to come. It'll be interesting to listen to all the various different versions of possibilities, but in the end, we don't know. And I have learned to love hanging out in not knowing. And maybe this Corona madness that put a stop on my life has, in many ways for me, been great. You know, because if you all of a sudden you can't plan ahead or anything, you know, or you're being thrown into the present moment, you know, so much. And maybe one last thing that I like to share, and then maybe have a few moments more of silence before I pass on the mic to Dirk to go into some real stuff. What I discovered also in all of those years is that whatever type you are, whatever your strategy is, and whatever your inner authority is, what I discovered is actually that when we connect with our inner authority and we actually allow ourselves to be moved by it, that inner authority places us firmly, again, in the here and now, in the body, in this moment, in the place where we are. And yeah, it connects us with our chi center. That was for me also such an amazing discovery, that actually the chi center is basically, this is the center for all of us, never mind what inner authority we have. Yeah, because that's where we are landing on our trajectory. And from here, we are being moved. And yeah, exactly, yeah. And the magnetic monopole, you know, that is supposedly the driver of this limousine, that is our body, where we are invited to be a passenger on the back seat. We are not the driver. Yeah, this is something that I have experienced time and again, that this is all of our center here, actually. Never mind where your inner authority is and what type we are. And I found a lovely short poem that I would like to. No, it's too complicated to find it. Maybe I send it to Julia and it can go out with whatever the stuff is. But because I fear if I go out, I'm not so good technically at all. If I go out now, I won't be able to come in, so I leave it. So I would like to complete my blah, blah, blah with a few moments of silence, how we started. And what I like to do naturally when I feel like I want to connect, you know, I like to put my hand or both hands on the chi center, which, you know, I discovered when I was, before human design, I was working with the 7 chakra system. So I did a lot of heart work. That was the spiritual heart. And then I discovered, wow, this this is the magnetic monopole, this is the G center, amazing. And it helps me to somehow fall into place with myself, feel connected, feel grounded, feel present. And if you like to try it out also, then I would suggest just a few moments of silence, of connecting each to yourself, and possibly feel in that moment when we are connected, how we are connected, all of us together.
Wow, that was amazing.
A cosmic hug.
Yeah.
And thank you for being here with me and sharing this precious time and your energy. I felt so much gentleness and kindness and loveliness in this virtual room.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
Nisarg, I want to share that it's truly extraordinary how being here in my space with pixels on the screen, it just happens. I say I am sure that I'm voicing not just myself. And we are very, very lucky that we are going to have you also for a closing ceremony.
Like, I'm already nervous. But I figured when we talked about it, I thought, oh, this is nice. I am open, it's like the opening and the closing that feels like altogether a cosmic embrace, and in between all sorts of other things are happening. So I guess it's going to be okay as this was now.
Amazing. No, it's
More than okay.
It's been an opportunity. I mean, it's also, what we are aiming at doing. I mean, the real thing here is the connectivity. Again, it's a fourth line, it's a sphinx, and with this knowledge, I mean, it's amazing to be able to meet the other who are so into this, we mean what this knowledge means to us. But yeah, again, it just demonstrates that it works. It's so amazing. It really, really works. So yeah, thank you, Nisarg. Thank you so much.
Maybe just one last thing that kind of comes is in a way that I'm so aware being here with you, that each of you are sitting there, you know, like a gift, like an offering in a way to the world. And there is so much beauty and so much perfection and so much possibility in a way. I mean, it's like, yeah, I feel honored. I'm honored. I feel honored that I was able to be with you like this. Thank you again, Christo and Julia, for the invite, for the invitation, and all of you to share this space with me. Yeah.
It's been a pure pleasure, Nisarg. Pure pleasure.
Okay.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, it's, I feel more arrived to the whole thing, to the whole marathon now, and grounded. I think that's the thing. And it's such a special time, and 2020, the countdown to 2027, and it's scary somehow to see some of the things unfolding. I think it's a bit scary actually, but I'm not worried. But it's to see it's happening, but then to have this fuse knowledge, human design as a fuse into it, and because it's really powerful to hear Ra from the past also talking about the future in the way in which we are developing, and that makes it feel extra special to be with all of you here, and to be on this fractal. That's what glues us together. Okay, Julia, are we ready to proceed? You want to say something?
At this point, I I feel like this.
Okay, so let's give the word to Dirk Nellens. Dirk, let's find. I'm gonna make you co-host, Dirk. If you just give me a moment. Yes, Dirk, you should be a co-host now, and which means you can unmute yourself if you wish.
Thank you. I saw it. Okay.
Dirk, before we start, I just want to ask you also to give you the opportunity. You want all the videos on like they are now, or should we?
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, nice to see each other.
Nice.
So thanks a lot, Nisarg. I think like my feeling is that like by the things you shared, like my feeling is this, like you touched upon the core of the knowledge of design for me in terms of the experience. It's all very experiential. And like I've never done a Rave New Year forecast, just to be clear about it. I've never. And when Christo asked me, I was like, okay, like let's see what that is about then for me. And I used to attend Ra's Rave New Year get-togethers, or however you want to call it, online. But it's not like I had a specific kind of like wow or something. Like I used to re-listen to them when the year was finished. And when the year was finished and I re-listened to them, then I could see like, okay, wow, this is a great signpost for me to see whether I'm actually navigating, relying on my, my life sparks intelligence, as a reflector. So before we dive into all of this, or at least which is my take on it, you know, so definitely take it with a grain of salt. I want to have a brief look at 2020, you know, because it's now that we're able to put the flesh on the bones, you know, of those mechanical imprints that were there when the sun started its new turn around the wheel. And I'm going to share my PowerPoint now, maybe. Here. We have a little bit of a view of what we are doing here. So yeah, like these things, it's just like they're providing some like the Rave New Year is just providing some insights into the weather pattern that can be of help in not getting caught up in all of the byproducts that display themselves all around us. I got this from re-listening to something that Ra was talking about on the Rave New Year, and it's nothing else. Like they're just signposts in some way or another. It's all about you living your design. And what is really particularly interesting for me in having taking a moment just to look back at the year is actually the realization that we had no clue on how this year is going to play out. We had no clue. Nobody in January 2020 was going to be able to display what it was. And I think, like, I see that that's my connection also to charts, to my own chart. I will never understand my chart. And this is what I love about it. You know, it's like my chart stays a revelation to me as I go through my process of experiencing and exploring and meeting people and connecting and falling into pitfalls and, you know, bringing myself back into, like, of constantly basically realigning myself to learning to be present, to learning to surrender to life, to learning what that is. That's what then I see, like, oh yeah, I'm avoiding confrontation and truth, and holy shit, I'm still proving myself and this and that. You know, then it comes to light, a chart. I don't, my experience is that I'm careful because I don't really know, like it, yeah, well, you know, we're able to pass on mechanical insights that a person then can use through experiencing. You know, I don't consider knowing my chart, and in terms of the awareness that Nisarg was pointing towards also, I don't even consider myself being a reflector. I'm just in, like, the moments I love most is when I'm a witness to a construct that obeys to reflector mechanics, but I'm watching it. And I think sometimes it's nice to remind it, you know, that this tool is really for awareness. This tool is for strengthening the watcher inside of us. So, okay, let's have a little look here at 2020. Now that we're able to put the flesh on the bones. So the nodal environment in 2020 was in the 58 gate, in the 5th line of defense. You know, the fuel for self-defense, or the forsaking of self-defense, and the embrace of questionable stimulations. And the north node was in the 52nd gate, gate that has to do with self-imposed inaction for the benefit of assessment. And here particularly, you know, the important ability to explain one's position, you know, where inaction and focus can lead to detail. This is the line of explanation. So there we were in an environment where we basically all ended up locked down. Now, the focus of 2020 was in the 58 gate in the 2nd line, you know, so the 58 gate is this collective challenge of something that can have authority over our life pattern, you know. So, and the 2nd line is basically stepping back with the inherent projection that, you know, there is this projection on the second line in the 58 gate, like, why are you giving your energy to that? You know, this line of perversion. The standard in 2020 was in the 37th gate in the 6th line. You know, it's an emotional ratchet wave oriented position that talks about the energy to maintain the family. So the tribal construct, to be supportive towards each other in an age where actually tribal support is kind of like on its way out. The perspective, you know, so the 52nd gate in the 5th line talks about leading to detail. But when we look at the, you know, you see it in the head over here, when we look at the contemplative energies present in the head and the ajna in 2020, we see that, you know, these positions that are there, they don't necessarily contribute to arriving at much logical detail. Now, first of all, we have Neptune sitting there, you know, in the 63rd gate in the 6th line, and Neptune brings us misinformation. So there we are looking at the whole logical circuit and not necessarily understanding anything, with the possibility of it turning into an obsession. That's what the line talks about. So we don't understand anything and it turns into an obsession. And this is right in the middle, because I particularly love the Godheads. This is right in the middle of Mitra. And Mitra is about, you know, externalizing emotions. So it goes together with some of that. We don't understand it. And then there is all these emotional things that are just behind the corner of it. And then we have Saturn, the constraint, and Pluto, the truth, in the 61st gate, in the 4th line of research and in the 3rd line of interdependence. No? Pluto is in interdependence, Saturn is in research. And my perspective is that this is really challenging energy. The 61st gate is very challenging energy. And why I'm saying this is that, first of all, I mean, for any individual in his or her acceptance of the ephemeral nature of the form within the process of embracing death in this quarter of mutation, it's quite something to come to an awareness that there is actually something eternal in us, you know, that there is something that is like, there is a witness and life goes on, even if form is ephemeral. It's not an easy position to come to. Secondly, it's also an individual pressure in the head that can fall into the melancholy of not knowing how to contemplate the situation and not finding any inspiration, especially when it concerns the preponderance of the small, which is the opposition of the 61st gate. So every little thing in life is a miracle. But to see that, you know, it's quite something. And usually it comes when we are starting to embrace death, you know, that every little thing that's there, like, wow. And there we are with a position in 2020 in the 61st gate where there is, I don't know what the hell is going on. What is this little thing over here that I cannot make sense out of, and on and on and on. And thirdly, the constraint, Saturn, and the truth, Pluto. They're both related in this position to embracing dying. You know, so this is a position in the keepers of the wheel, you know, the underlying forces that keep the wheel of life turning. And on a societal level, this is Pluto breaking down the backbones of a patriarchal structure, of, you know, strategic power structures that we've carried with us all till the end of this, you know, 9-centered interregnum. And that process, that is just being set in motion. You know, the keepers of the wheel, they start in the 61st gate, then they go to the 60th gate, then they go to the 41st gate, then they go to this whole amino acid chunk there, okay, is just being set off. So slowly, slowly, Pluto will move into the 60th gate and break down the structures in the root. And then obviously open the door to more chaos. And fourthly, like it is an opportunity for a shift in consciousness on an individual level in the face of a systemic breakdown on a societal level. So interdependence is about the acceptance that it is what it is, while Saturn is individually accentuating the exploration of those depths. Now, Pluto and Saturn in 2020, they are joined by Jupiter and Mercury in their positions in the quarter of mutation. So there was actually a lot of emphasis in 2020 on a theme, the quarter theme of mutation, which is about embracing mutation, embracing death. And Jupiter, the rules, no, was in the gate of opposition. So in the Godhead of Vishnu, where basically a strategic take on the program talks about the form becoming our source of suffering. And here in the third line, it talks about integrating or not with others in times of struggle. And Mercury, the communication, was in the 19th gate in the third line. So it's talking about vigilance and sensitivity in approach in the channel of synthesis. So in synthesizing with others, in coming close to others. And the mutation or the immaturity of Mars, was in the 5th gate in the 2nd line in 2020. So Mars was in the gate of waiting, and here in the 2nd line, there is the possibility of experiencing inner peace as stagnation. And then finally, we have Uranus, that is usually the weirdo and the eccentric one of the family. And here it is pointing towards the sidetrack, and talking about selfishness and taking care of oneself first in the 27th gate in the 1st line. So that was the weather of 2020, and my assumption obviously is that nobody knew in January how it was going to play out. And obviously it is just weather. Like, it was actually great weather for processes of inner development, of awareness, of relying on one's capacities to go about life and to be in wonder about life when one can rely on one's own being. And then at the same time, it was shit weather for those who still define their lives by holding on to the theater scene of a play that is, dramatically changing scenery. So during the lockdown, I I want to have this quick look at this change of scenery that is going on, During the lockdown, I started writing a play based on the Godheads and global cycles. And actually, that's one of the things that I thought, like, it could be nice to bring it to this thing that was taking place live in Romania. And I personally love the Godheads because they clearly lay out our fundamental issue with the programming field, which is that we have a strategic take on life. And it's based on our survival-oriented minds and all that kind of stuff, instead of a receptive approach towards the program, which is anchored in our own intelligence, in our individual strategy and authority. So, I'm a 4/6 also, so I'm taking, the opportunity to launch an invitation to anybody who has a little understanding of the Godheads, and feels like participating in this creative and fun project, because I only wrote until now, the part that is related to the vessel of love. So I started to do this in kind of selfie mode and stuff, and I made some masks of plaster and all this. I was alone in the lockdown, and basically these anthropomorphizations, which we can see over here, these Godheads, okay, which are basically anthropomorphizations that through a play, for example, I was engaging with creatively. You know? They give us a good feel for the characters and their roles that they had in this cosmic play. So these anthropomorphizations have been on the stage of humanity for 1,644 years. You know, sometimes when we look at global cycles, we're just looking at, yeah, we're moving from the cross of planning to the cross of the sleeping phoenix, but actually we are leaving behind a godhead that and chemistry that has been influencing us for 1,644 years. And these godheads, they are anthropomorphizations of consciousness fields. You know, they are basically personality crystal bundles. And we interpret them through the hexagrams, and we have a personal connection to them through gates and amino acids and circuits and centers and the whole thing, you know. But in the context of a play, what was really surprising to me is that when you put them there together, you know, and I was here in Ibiza, so okay, let's put them together and let's have them have a drink and contemplate on their past 1,644 years and how they've been influencing us as humanity. And now it's time to pass the torch to the following ones. You know? When you look at the following ones, you know, and when you look at these ones, basically, these ones are usually when you like play them out, they are very social. They're about the expansion of consciousness. They're very friendly kind of creatures, if you want. You know, they chat away. They're just there. When this moves to this, and you put it in a theater play, okay, you get to see that these guys, you know, they don't drink wine any longer. You know, they don't chat away. They're rather internalized. They're unsociable. And for them, consciousness is something that is incarnated or not, full stop. And we are moving there. I mean, I was just looking at the faces of that are concerned with the vessel, which are Maya, Hades, Kali, and Thoth. I mean, it's a totally different frequency to sit at the table between Mitra, who is all like, hey, let's come together, and Harmonia, which is all about relationships in some way or another. And then you got the intelligence of Prometheus, and you got the abundance of life. And all of a sudden, at the table are sitting Death, Kali, Maya, and Thoth. And we are moving there. We're moving into a frequency that is also very interesting. These guys, you know, these godheads, they're all beyond time. So we are right now in a phase of evolution, so to speak, where, you know, our sense of time is drastically changing. You know? So when we look at the program and the movement of the planets, you know, we don't look at it like an astrologer, because we are in some way or another simultaneously aware of a much vaster shift underneath. A shift that will end the exaltation of the fifth line, you know, which is basically come together, learn, like getting conditioning, whether it's good or bad. But you know, Ra was a fifth line, for example, and we're moving to a sixth line. You are it or you are not. All the knowledge is great, but if you're not living it, it doesn't mean much. You know, we are ending our concepts of time. We are finishing our position on the top of the food chain. There is a drastic push on us on the reliance of our own life spark's intelligence. This shift will annihilate the invincibility of our strategic minds, and it will shock us to our bones in terms of our fertility and our material dominance on Earth. And it will bring us in contact with a life form that is coming out of us and that is way beyond us. And all of this is taking place while we're all in a rat race in some way or another for getting a vaccine, and while we are dealing with a crumbling system. So it is quite a movie to watch. You know, it's quite a movie to watch, and it's quite a journey to stay aware in. So, okay, that's how I have been contemplating some of it, and obviously the nicest space is the space of not knowing. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen. I have no idea. But there's always been a helpful thing in design, and it's been signposts. And Ras put a lot of emphasis on signposts because they help us, like, oh, okay, I see this. Oh, thank you. Oh, yeah, okay, okay. So that in mind, let's have a little look on, what 2021 is basically giving us in terms of mechanical construct, so to speak. It's a new chapter of the sun around the wheel, and there's certain things that are in that chapter that the sun is starting to write. I mean, tonight at 10 to 8 universal time, so that's Greenwich time. So, the environmental perspective in 2021 is a perspective that is on ego-oriented themes. The 26 and the 45, they're in the third lines of bonds made and broken. So it's about adapting and being resilient. And this is a material and a potentially very political oriented perspective, with a deeply tribal content of with us or against us, of having or not having. And in contrast to 2020, where the nodes, they were in the motivation of probability and transferring to possibility, which is basically being very present in 2020. Oh, it could be this, could be that, could be this, could be that. It's like, yeah. Now we have the other way around. We have a perspective that is basically possibility, which is looking at the options, and it's transferring to probability. So all of a sudden we get a transferred perspective that is about being convinced that this is it. So this is a nodal perspective that has a lot to do with having or not having, and there is an agenda behind it. The 26th gate can potentially be either, in what it's actually in some way or another is awakened Promethean intelligence. And that can turn into trying to convince and manipulate. So here we see the frustration when not included in a material process, and all the potentially Machiavellic attempts to gather support. Now, obviously, these nodes, they've already been around for a while, and we've already been seeing what they've been doing. Now, this year, as you see over here, now this year comes together with two very powerful and contrasting definitions. And one of them is pressurized, potentially cranked up emotions on a ratchet wave. And the other is potentially deeply melancholic about being stuck in the dark and not finding any reasonable resolution. So these are projector channels, they can bring about this really cranked up emotional bitterness about not having one's need recognized or met. And they can also, the other one can really be, a bitter, isolated mental perspective that can, that's there, and that will be in the weather. And obviously, depending on your own charts, you can easily see what it does to you. How it hooks into your hanging gates or your open centers and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, when these nodes, okay, point towards material, or 45th gate also educational exclusion, my attention goes towards the definition between the root and the solar plexus, where basically we find 6 of the planetary activations of this, solar chapter around the wheel. First of all, we've got to see that the sun this year comes together with the constraint. Saturn is there also. So Saturn is in the 41st gate, in the 3rd line. So this set-off of a new experiential chapter for humanity is basically saying at the same time that there is a constraint on it, a Saturnian constraint on it, that says that basically being selfish and being there for oneself is justified. That it starts with you, and you looking after yourself first. And this is Saturn exalted, so this is a year of material concern and the arduousness to go at it alone, to basically do hard, continuous work and not to rely on others, no dependencies, which is actually a great Saturnian heads up towards the channel 1949 that is breaking down while we're speaking. Saturn is already saying, like, you got to think about yourself now. You have to go about it yourself. You have to rely on yourself. We know what that means to rely on oneself. So this is a new experiential cycle where we justifiably need to put ourselves first. Now, this is part of a tribal, emotional definition ruled by Jupiter, the rules. Jupiter stands for the rules. And it's saying, Jupiter here is saying, when you read the 19 in the first line, Jupiter is saying, like, don't fall into wanting to be accepted by others. And in that wanting to be accepted by others, losing your identity in it. So really, it's like looking out for the propaganda in the 26th gate in the 3rd line, where the south node is. Look out for it, or you can end up losing yourself with the Saturnian pain of no longer being able to stand your ground materially. And on the other side of the 19, we find what is being communicated. So there we find Mercury. And Mercury in the 49th gate in the 2nd line, is a gate of revolution. And in the 2nd line, it's a position that says, like, yeah, well, before we throw this whole thing over, maybe we should give it one last try. That's that gate, that line there. Let's explore every possibility before rejecting. And obviously here, the acceptance, rejection element of the 49 gate can be deeply felt and potentially devastating. So, this is a year where there is emotional weather going on. And that's obviously a heads up to everybody, in terms of going about the nature of their solar plexus correctly, defined or undefined, doesn't matter. Let's really be careful not to get dragged into that stuff so easily. Now, it is especially so because here, in this definition, there is also Neptune there, and Neptune stands for misinformation. And that obviously brings an additional challenge in some way or another, because Neptune in this position, to me, it really reminded me of, I guess you guys all saw Jungle Book, and there was this snake there, Ka. And Ka is singing to Mowgli and going like, trust in me. like this year, that's the position of Neptune there in the line of the enchanter, you know, so the 22nd gate, okay, carries a deep melancholy in it that says, like, is there really anybody worth listening to? Huh? And of course there is. I mean, you can listen to yourself, okay, but at the same time, this gate on a global perspective, or on a not from a not self perspective, is obviously a gate that has a lot to do with fake news and being misinformed individually. You know, obviously this kind of rings a bell in terms of social media and how we can easily fall in all of the misinformation and have our own individual stands that then in some way or another we get emotionalized through and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, the evolution of technology, you know, is very much connected to Uranus and Neptune. There is a lot of stuff there. I did a video on my YouTube channel, and there I tracked Uranus since the discovery of the internet, and it's clear how we don't see it, but it's coming closer and closer and closer and deeper inside of our beings. And at the same time, it comes together with misinformation. So it's definitely something to look out for. So this is an emotional definition, and this emotional definition sets the standard. You know, Venus is also there, the standard. This sets the standard for this particular weather in 2021. So Venus is attached to this definition, and it's in the 54th gate in the second line. Now, the 54th gate is this fuel for transformation, and it's pointing to the existential fear of materially failing in the 32nd gate. So, and here it's in the line of discretion. You know, it's basically talking about restraint or ambition energy that fuels disloyalty. Now, disloyalty to yourself, maybe, you know. So this weather, you know, that carries pressure and is materially oriented pressure, but at the same time, this weather carries also something that says, like, you know, restraint, self-reliance, emotional wisdom for correct navigation. So again, you know, obviously we see clearer and clearer the necessity of like, wow, you know, strategy and authority is really something that is bringing me, it's also safeguarding me in a way. Now, this is important to take into consideration because this year we have Mars and Uranus.
Dirk, can I
Yes,
just could you go to like a full screen view on this presentation from your hand?
maybe.
Ah, great, thank you.
Let's see.
I will
It's
mute
almost,
myself.
let's see. Yes. No? Now it's full screen, no?
Looks good. Thank you, Dirk.
So this year, Uranus and Mars. So Mars is mutation, immaturity, and Uranus is the sidetrack, and they're hands in hands this year. They're hands in hands in the same gate, in the same line. So, you know, that when you put together immaturity and sidetrack hands in hands, it's, to me, it sounds a little bit like, whoa, that's potentially explosive or disruptive, especially in an open sacral. Okay, so this line is talking about the power of suspicion in limiting the expression of caring, or to be realistic in one's capacities to care, to be wise. The sixth line, to be wise in one's capacities to care. So this 27th gate in the sixth line, it's pointing towards the 50th gate. So there we are dealing with, you know, life affirming values, you know, the channel of custodianship. And here with this position over here, with this Martian, immaturity in some ways, in the not self, it can really go into, well, I don't give a damn. I don't care at all. So, and this is part of the defense circuit, so there is really, again, a focus this year on being wise, what to care about, not being hot-headed in don't giving a shit about anything anymore, and all that kind of stuff. And then finally, how does this move now? Okay, let's see. Yes. And then finally, we have the focus of this year, the moon, is in a gate that, according to me at least, it can be potentially so beautiful. The 24th gate, all at the end of the quarter of initiation, it brings this potential for deep inner silence and knowing that comes out of mentally not knowing, that comes out of a surrender, like I don't know, which opens the door to knowing. And this year it forms a definition with Pluto in the 61st gate, also in the 5th line, and the gate of, well, the Pluto stands for truth. So, in some ways or another, individually speaking, wow, both these gates in the 5th line, and the moon coming into admitting mistakes of the past and all that kind of stuff on an individual level, this is great. This is great weather for deeply enlightening individual insights. Now, obviously, from the perspective of like when we go about life strategically and in the not self, all that, whatever language you want to give to that, in the 26th gate, in the 3rd line, where the nodal perspective is, it then obviously this definition can in some way or another also become deeply deceptive and lure people into false truths and rationalizations in order to veil the breakdown of all kinds of patriarchal structures, like power structures, basically, where Pluto is right now bringing down everything. Slowly, while Pluto is moving forward, we'll see more and more breakdown of those structures that are the backbone of whatever we have built on that mechanism. Now, as a contemplative definition, it can provide for a weather that reveals deep inner truths about the interconnectedness and the abundance of life in the face of the ephemeral nature, but that's to the individual. Now, what it will bring, if we continue, if humanity in some way or another continues a strategic take on the wheel of life, 2021 will tell. I'm definitely not here to know anything about this. So yeah, that's basically my perspective on like that part of what the weather is basically giving. And again, this is just weather. You can see it through your own chart, and you can see how you hook up to it and how you interact with it. And what I've learned is that, and it's a strange thing, especially as a reflector, there is never anything really consistent. So and it's a challenge really to learn to trust in life and in myself. But when I have that trust, and then when I am there, I see that life is always supporting in some way or another, and this year brings great weather for deepening our individual processes of awakening and taking care of ourselves. Now, obviously, there is always another take on that. You know, there's it all it's when we're looking at the way that the program works, and I know the, like, it's obviously called the program. I call it the wheel of life, and it's all our strategic take on the wheel of life that got us into so much trouble. And when we can trust in who we are and in the intelligence that sits in our forms, which is, you know, basically synthesized or succinctly put as strategy and inner authority, yeah, then it's, you know, just interesting weather to go through this year. And yeah, that's what I had to share about that. You know, I obviously thank you all for listening, and I wish you a happy Rave New Year.
Thanks, Dirk. Thanks a lot. Would you mind turning off your sharing the screen so we can go back to the wow. This is this one was good. We missed that one. Happy Rev New Year, by the way, to you too,
Yeah.
and everybody
How do
else.
I
And
here? Okay.
I mean, wow, we had maybe some of you also noticed in the audience that we had a little teaser with Dirk some weeks ago, and now for me it's really it's back then also. I mean, it hits me so deep. I just get still by it, and yeah, we are in such a strange time, and it's somehow beautiful to see the genetic poetry out of it. I mean, the gates and the lines and how you describe it, and yeah,
Thanks.
thanks a lot.
My pleasure.
Yes, beautiful. Julia there, what's up? What do you have to say?
I'm taking my breath. It's amazing how the mind translates this information. It's like, depending on where I am, how am I listening, and you're bringing it in such a neutral way. This is what it is. What is this? How it's going to embody? And I think it's a great, can be a great practice for all of us to re-listen to this in the end of the cycle, in the end of this year, and we will understand, not just mentally, but also physically, what really was shared now.
And I think that my take on it is that's a very good example of how to approach an individual chart. These are just mechanical layouts. I have no idea what it is, but I can discover through living, through experiencing, through seeing, through going through my life, you know, to trying it out, checking it out. There's nothing I have to do. There's nothing I cannot do. There's just me living and seeing what it reveals.
Yep. Yep, that's it. No choice. It's a movie anyway, so we So we have now half an hour before our next lecture. Julia, would you mind sharing that slide again, that with the information on, so I can just have an opportunity to repeat myself a bit. We had new people coming in, and we will close the room now after we finish now, and then we will open it again in I would say more or less exactly 20 minutes from now. We will open it again. So yeah, we are synthesizing a virtual festival experience here. We're gonna have different stages. Zoom is our main stage, basically, and That's where it's going to be most of the events, the human design events. But we will also use YouTube. We have a YouTube channel where there is material you can watch already from past events. We have an exclusive cinema, which you see there, the link to it, tinyurl.com/human design cinema. There's already movies there. Good, very nice information. We got this information videos from Jovin Archive, and it's usually material you need to buy. So I recommend you to take a look at that if you want to just watch raw. And there's also a meditation there, a type meditation made by Julia and Pepper, which is very nice. And there will be more material there coming as we go into the marathon. We will kind of segment it a little bit and give you more information. Okay, hold on. My battery went out.
So maybe I will take
take over, Julia.
Part while you are changing your battery, and let's see what we have next. And next we have Andrea Rekel-Wolf. She is one of the, for me, one of the most mysterious teachers, because she brings the aspect of PHS, and she also teaches the differentiation program. But interestingly enough, Andrea is going to give us the very foundational download. She will talk about human design system, because we all know what it is, but what if some of us are still just meeting in the system? This is one thing. And another thing, what I personally found through my experience, and it's a 9th year for me working with human design, that every time when I'm listening to this basic information presented by a different teacher, I'm learning something new. Sometimes maybe it's not information that I'm learning, but there is a different frequency in how the material is being transmitted. So I personally can't wait to hear what Andrea will have to share with us.
Yes.
And then later we will have a break, or during the break we will share with you beautiful poetry that Marianne shared with us. We had such a lovely communication with Marianne, and during our communication she remembered that she wrote that poem, and it was kind of went into the shelf. I don't know if you say that, went into the shelf, if there's such thing in English. I mean, that's what we say in Russian. You just write something and forget about it. But then it kind of got a second breath, and she sent it to us, and then she basically uploaded it to YouTube. So we are going also to screen that. And then we will have a session with Linda Bunnell, the director of International Human Design School. So guys, get ready to ask some questions.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, guys, so we take let's see how it 15 minutes break,
20-minute break,
and then we will open the room again. So so just as you know, when I close the room, everybody will have to go out, and you just click the same Zoom link like you did from before, either from the booklet, or if you got it on your Telegram, WhatsApp, or wherever, just click the same.
Usually it even stays in Zoom. If you've been in the room, it kind of remembers, so you don't have to type it again.
Also, and it's also the same static link. If you scrutinize, you will see that the link is 2027, 2027, 77. So yep, that's the link. So yeah, see you soon. Thanks for now. Thanks, Dirk. Thanks, Nisarg. It was a beautiful opening ceremony, and yeah, it's amazing.
Thank you.